to talk about our ESL program here at Hempfield. ESL stands for English as a Second Language. First of all, here are the people here. Donna Gossard, our ESL department chair. I'm Ian Decker, the assistant principal at Centerville Middle School. I hope I don't butcher this too bad. Nhung Ha?
That is correct.
All right, she's a former Hempfield student. She's also taking care. You're also his cousin? Cousin, that's right. So you have a good perspective of being a former student and having, knowing somebody that's going through our program right now. So our program is a Title III mandate from the federal government. It's part of our core curriculum. Here's some of the things we use, the WAPAT. That's the assessment, correct, Donna? Mm-hmm. And then through that, we use the WIDA access to provide instruction. Title III is that federal mandate declaring students with English as a second language receive instruction. Our ESL program is a core curriculum, just like any other in our district, just like English or reading or writing or math. Conscientiously responsible to students who do not have English as a first language. When students enter our district with English not as a first language, they take this assessment, they go to a certain level, and from there, they receive their instruction. So what do these levels look like? Here's our levels. We have entering, emerging, beginning, developing, expanding, and bridging. From top to bottom, bridging is that last step. Our students are feel like they're completely fluent in English. I like that the teacher has this up here as well too, but our mission statement I feels really correlates with our ESL program, especially this part here where students are to become lifelong learners and contributing citizens in a global society. That's kind of also our vision, that personal growth, the achievement, the success of every student. And in the ESL program, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure every student is succeeding and giving them the academic needs and supports that's going to help them become completely fluent in the English language. So this is what our program looks like at the K-12 level. Kindergarten through 6th grade, we're a pull-out program or a push-in program. Pulling out means that the ESL teacher may pull them out during a social studies class or an intervention period to work with them on their needs. They also come in and push into the classroom to help in certain classrooms with specific students in the reading and the writing and the math side of things, or even the science or social studies. It's based on the building, the number of students. I know at Centerville we have our own teacher, Mrs. Risser, but LMS, the other middle school, they share a teacher of ESL because they just don't have as many students that need ESL in education, so they share with LIC, correct? Right. So the 7th and 8th grade level, it's a little bit different. It's a scheduled course. In 7th grade, it takes the place of science, and in 8th grade, it takes the place of social studies, based on that student need, based on that level they're at. In 9th through 12th, it's a scheduled course. However, it's not only graded on the report card, but it also counts as credits on a transcript for college. So, Mrs. Gossard is going to talk about diversity at Hempfield.
Okay, and I think just from the slide there, you can see how fortunate we are to have great diversity among our 10 schools. 46 countries are represented among 10 schools from K to 12. And with that, we have about 37 languages. If you look at the continents, we have only 7 continents, and we have 5 of them covered here at Hempfield. So again, we're very fortunate to have this opportunity to have so many students from all across the world to be here at Hempfield. Okay, some of the things that we emphasize in our program are with culture. It's everything from awareness to assimilation to connectivity that we need to do with our students and families and churches and companies that are in our area. We look at how we can bridge all of our students and their families and extended families with other, either their same background or with churches that are also part of the diverse population. And a lot of it's done through social media. A lot of it is also done through the media sponsored and supported by our libraries, such as with Culturegrams.
Okay, the last one is introducing.
Okay, so at this time, we're really fortunate because we were able to have a former student here at Hempfield, and I know she'll share a little bit more about herself. Nhung Ha is here, and she's going to speak about one of our 48 countries that are represented here, and this is from Vietnam. So, Nhung, thank you so much for agreeing to be here.
You are very welcome. My name is Nhung Ha. I am a former student here of Hempfield High School. I graduated here from 2009. I started with the district starting in 2003 with Centerville Middle School. So I started there in 7th grade. I did not do my primary education here with the district, however. The reason why I feel it's so important to start here and talk about the English as a second language program is I myself was once a English language learner. If you don't mind just going to the next slide for me. I am what people consider as a first generation Vietnamese-American. My parents came here in 1988, or they started traveling, leaving the country in 1988. And throughout that time there, when they came to the United States in 1990, I was then born in Los Angeles, California, where growing up in the U.S., you would think that my English would be impeccable. I would just be like any other Native Americans here. However, that is not the case. Next bullet point. There's been a tug of war between two languages and two cultures for me. Growing up in my family, in my home, we spoke Vietnamese. My parents didn't know English, and still does not know English that well, enough to make conversations, but in terms of our daily routines, we do use Vietnamese as our primary language. And with that being said, I've always had to separate myself between learning how it is that I can learn English and then how it is to incorporate the Vietnamese culture that my parents have embedded in me. So as an English language learner, believe it or not, it started when I was probably 5 years old in kindergarten. I didn't make the test. I didn't pass the test to be admitted to the first kindergarten class that I enrolled in. With that being said, my sisters already starting in that district, we actually switched districts for me to be enrolled in a program that had the support that I needed as an English language learner. So through there, I was able to be in the ESL program from kindergarten up through 4th grade. In kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, the school that I went to didn't have a program like it does here at Hempfield. I actually had to take a bus where then we went to a different district to get that support system that I needed. After then, I was able to assimilate myself to the American culture, to the language, to the just the everyday lifestyle here. And with that being said, I slowly lost the Vietnamese culture that I had growing up, solely because growing up there, I stopped listening to the Vietnamese music that my parents had us doing. We started listening to NSYNC, Britney Spears, Destiny's Child. So all of the changes then, moving from 5th grade on, I would say, it made me lose part of the culture where I was a part of. And it wasn't until starting high school, so I was already with the Hempfield District, where I slowly had to start gaining that Vietnamese culture again. Whether that means being affiliated and a part of the Vietnamese Temple Youth Group. And then going on to college, I graduated from Temple University. I was involved with the Vietnamese Student Association and an Asian interest sorority, where we strive to promote cultural awareness. Believe it or not, with that difference between the years, now when I tell my friends that I was born and raised in America, they don't believe me because they would assume that I just came over here not too long ago. So there's been so many stages in my life where I feel like the English as a second language program is so important and crucial to the development of our generation. Going into just a little bit about Vietnam, as from what I know and what I've been told and taught, Vietnam is a little bit smaller than the state of California. However, our population is more than double the size that they have in California. Vietnam is split into 3 different regions, the most popular one, so north, middle, south. However, there are multiple sections and vectors in each region that we don't really typically talk about. With the different regions, there's different dialects that come with them, and there are enough changes in the dialects where when it's Northern Vietnamese people, they won't be able to understand the Southern Vietnamese people speaking. It's the same language, just the way that they pronounce the information is completely different. Difference in language, different in food. We always say as you go down south from the tip to Southern Vietnam, the palate of the taste, it becomes sweeter and sweeter to the point where, let's say if I'm from Hue, middle Vietnam, and if I'm to eat a dish from Southern Vietnam, it will be too sweet for my taste. The Vietnamese language, most people always associate an Asian language with different characters, just as like the Chinese or Japanese language. However, with the Vietnamese language, it is not. We use the Latin script, Latin alphabet, so we still have letters just as the English language here. However, the letters, as you can tell on the screen there, they are different. So like we have 3 different A's pronounced differently. We have 2 D's, 2 E's, 3 O's. And it's just each of the different pronunciation makes it sound different enough for you to be able to make another word out of it. There are also different diacritics, which are the different accents to the languages. So Vietnamese has different tones creating the different sounds that we make. There are 6 tones total. So what I'm just gonna do is there's a little YouTube video that I'm just gonna show that demonstrates how with the 6 tones, with the same letters making up a word, the tones will create different sounds and different meanings to the word. It is lesson 2, and we'll only be playing like half of the video. No, that's really fine. Like, and if not, we can skip that video. I can. I feel like I have someone here who will be able to give the examples better than I would. But let's just for example, which is what this video is talking about. Using the word M-A, ma. So M-A, ma, it just means ghost. And I'm looking at you because I'm trying to get with a one of the tones that is provided there, which is a sec, meaning it is a higher up letter, which will mean ma, and ma means cheek. So it's just a very subtle differentiation between ma, which has no tones to it, or ma, which has the sec accent on it, it gives you two different words. And that's why it's so important when we are trying to learn another language, how the pronunciation of a word is that much more important to us, only because certain accents in our language makes it a different word completely. So we're just going to move on to cuisine. Food is something that we can say is globally diverse, and it brings us together. So with cuisine, what I found with the Vietnamese cuisine as we here in America view it, there are 4 different dishes that I say stands out the most. You can continue clicking through it, it just comes up. Pho, which is a noodle dish. It's a rice noodle dish, mainly with broth, beef broth or chicken broth. Bún bò Huế, it is a spicy beef vermicelli dish. Bánh mì is a Vietnamese hoagie, and then cà phê sữa đá is Vietnamese iced coffee. Those are the 4 things with the handful of Vietnamese restaurants around the Lancaster area, and then also being in the Philadelphia region that I feel Vietnam is most known for. However, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that looking up with the Vietnamese street food, which is what Vietnam is best known for. That's where you get all the spectacular food and the true Vietnamese food. You get things such as like the Vietnamese savory crepes. You have baby clam over rice, balut, which is duck eggs, and then escargot, different sweet dessert dishes. All of those things are not things that you typically find over here, which are also things that when people first come over from Vietnam, those are things that they miss the most, the food that you can't find over here. You can see on the 2 upper corners, right and left, those are the places where people normally say you find the best Vietnamese food. It's just outside, pretty much like street food. Those are where that you get the most authentic Vietnamese food that you can find in the Vietnam country. So going into education, which is the main focal of this presentation here, is going over the Vietnam's educational system. You have primary school, secondary school, high school, just as you do, of course, with the American education system. Primary school goes through K through 5, 5th grade, secondary 6th through 9th, and high school is 10th through 12th. With your primary and secondary school, you normally go through the district, just as you do here. High school, it is more of a, think of it as college application. As to what we do here. They have to do an entrance exam. They have to look at GPAs and the weighted scores that they've had through primary and secondary school to be admitted into a specific high school over there that they choose. So what I'm going to show you a video. It's just a very beautiful scenic video. Volume is not necessary. It's just so we can see. This is Hai Ba Trung. That is actually the school that we attended 10th through part of 11th grade. And it's just showing how beautiful a high school is over there and why I'm not surprised that it's missed when he came over here. So this is just a sky view of the high school that he did attend while he was still in Vietnam. And also to note, this is also ranked as the 2nd best high school in Hue City, which is the city that Huy and my parents are a part of. The videos are just not loving us today, guys. I apologize.
Facebook and it's getting blocked by our on their bad tip. Can we go out to the Facebook page? Is there pictures to scroll through?
There are pictures on the Facebook page.
Try that.
So that is the overall, at the cover photo there, view of it. I'm pretty sure we go into the photos. And when you scroll through here, you just want to scroll down just so we can see the different photos. You'll see the difference in how the education is over there versus over here. They 10th, all the levels actually, but I'll specifically talk about the high school level. 10th through 12th grade, you're staying in the same classroom for all 3 years, meaning that you are working with, alongside with 30 to 40 kids, the same students for all 3 years. So you build that bond and you get very close to your peers over there. Even though there may be like hundreds of students in your grade, in the 9th grade, in the 10th grade, but you're only working with and you're in the same classroom going through all your courses from 10th through 12th with the same 30 to 40 students. So that bond that you build, it's not, and I'll touch base on this a little bit, it's not like how over here we see 30 students a class with 4 classes, 4 classes, you can reach up to close to 100 students a day just seeing them, whereas in Vietnam you spend that 3 years with 30 students. Moving on with the education system, where am I at? How a week typically plays out is they would have their Monday morning assembly where, as we do the Pledge of Allegiance here every morning, every day, they do saluting to the flag every week, once a week on Monday, where it's a school-wide assembly. So they would all line up. The school system in Vietnam, you are required to wear uniforms. Guy uniforms is blue pants and white button down. With the girls' uniform, depending on the days, on Mondays especially, you do have to wear the traditional long dress that Vietnam is known for. There is an example over here. Of course, this is more of the floral print line. When you are going to school, they do require to wear the plain white long dress. And then on 3 of the 5 days, then you are then required to wear the blue pants and button-down shirts as well. There are 2 different scheduled class times in Vietnam, which is either morning classes or afternoon classes. Your morning classes start from 7 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. And then you're done for that day. And with afternoon classes, you either come in then from 12:30 to 5 o'clock. So it's very short hours versus what we have here in America. However, they don't end at 11:30. They have their lunch break. And if you are scheduled your morning classes, the afternoon time is meant for your tutor session, which every Vietnamese student over there, they do at least 3 tutor sessions a week, so that equivalates to additional classes that they have to learn. So from their normal morning classes, they do their core classes, core courses, and from their afternoon time, they do either tutoring or the extracurricular, just as like gym courses. When asked about what do you miss most about the Vietnamese education system or studying in Vietnam, and I've met numerous people who came over to study abroad, they all say the bond that they build from the classmates, again, you're spending 3 years with the same 30 people, or that class trips, they do 2 to 3 class trips annually, and then as well as camping on school ground. So they come together and they have just an after school, even overnight sometime, camping where they get to do talent shows amongst different classes for the whole school to see. So of course, taking all of that in that you've learned or that you've heard about the Vietnamese culture, coming to study in America is a complete culture shock. So we'll first start with the education system. We here go to school, 7:30 to 3 o'clock, 7-8 hours a day. It is very long hours, and that's not something that they're used to. Over there, they do get that 2-hour break in between, or even if they don't have their tutor session, they end then at 11:30 or from 12 to 5 o'clock. However, with the education system here, they have said that with the long hours, they do feel as though teachers are able to be more thorough in their teaching, and with the advancement in technology here, they're able to get a lot more of the education in as they would in Vietnam. Personal versus work life, and what I mean with that is in Vietnam, students over there going through 12th grade, they do not work. Their main focus is on the education aspect, the academic aspect of it. So when we come over here and we talk about, once you reach 14, 15, 16 years old, you get a job, part-time job, you earn the money to go on to higher education, that's not something they're used to. And then also the saying of, do you work to live or do you live to work? Are you here working so that you can make enough money to survive, but yet enjoy the time that you have in life, or all you're doing in life is working, and that is all that you have in life? And then, of course, with food. It's what I love about this is the difference in the taste, the palate of the and not really just the Vietnamese culture, American culture, but anybody who is going to a different country. I'll say, let's say my mom, she's been here for 20-something years. She is proud of herself when she finishes half of a quarter-pound burger. And I have bacon is love, bacon is life. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, when he was actually doing a homework assignment, he went across a meme that said, bacon is life. And he asked, what is that? I had to try and explain that in America, we have an obsession with bacon, just a fascination with bacon. And that's not something they're used to. That's not something they're aware of. So just like, that's how we are here. And then if you can see on the bags of chips over there, there's 2 different ways where the bag of chips are open. Interestingly enough, we, as well as another cousin of mine who came here maybe three months ago, they open their bag of chips. If you're holding it lengthwise like this, they open it, pull it down horizontally so that the bag of chips is open horizontally. Whereas when we did that here in the cafeteria, his friend said, wait, why are you doing that? You open it the other way, the top wise. And I was just like, I thought that was interesting because when my cousin, the other cousin came over, she opened the bag of chips the same way that we did when he was here in school. And I had the same question, why do you open it like that? We open it the other way here. So just little things like that I found is interesting, not just with how food is made, but then also how we enjoy them as well. Going more into the challenges of being an English as a language learner. The most difficult thing that people tell me when they first come over here, start learning a new language, is the listening and comprehension portion of it. In Vietnam, yes, you learn English when you were young, growing up, but they learn British English. So even just hearing how it is that we speak over here, it's different, it's completely different. So the first thing that they need to get familiarized with is the listening aspect of it. And then the way that we pronounce the words here. As you can see with the 1 through 6 over there. And I've always found that English is probably the hardest language to learn. I've been an English language learner. I have self-taught myself Vietnamese. I've been in 5 years of Spanish and taken 3 years of Chinese. English is by far the hardest. Thought, bought, fought, brought. Enough, rough, tough, slow. Through, though, although, though, thorough. Cough, and bow, doughty. Like, how does that even come together when all the words, the main letters in there are O, U, G, H? It baffles my mind. So I'm not surprised how the listen, comprehension, pronunciation is the hardest part to grasp when you are trying to learn the English language. And after you do get that, think about the slangs that we use here as well. So the word stud. The word stud, if you look it up in the dictionary, it is a piece of metal, or if you think of stud earrings. However, when you're using that to describe a person, then you're saying that, hey, you're cool to be around, you're stud, you're good looking. So it's just something like that where looking up in a dictionary does not translate the same anymore. So using slang. And then, of course, the toughest challenge that I found for English language learner is being able to express themselves, being able to communicate how it is that what they're thinking and what they're feeling to the English language and making it so that it sounds what it is that they are thinking on the inside for other people to hear them as well.
Did you need to get it wrapped up for the next group?
Yeah, for the next
Okay,
group.
all right. Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Is that all right?
yes, that's really fine.
Yeah, that's